Want red beans and rice that taste real nice? Ask Corey, he got the story. Want to make lasagna better than your mama? Ask Corey, he got the story. Want blackened catfish to be your main dish? Ask Corey, he got the story. Want to make gumbo without all the mumbo jumbo? Ask Corey, he got the story. Want a king cake that ain't no fake? Ask Corey, he got the story. Want to make a poor boy that'll bring your mouth joy? Ask Corey, he got the story. Corey Rocan, Food 411.
Welcome to Food 411. So today we're going to be cooking some spaghetti and meatballs. Yum yum. So last time I made a red sauce, a marinara sauce if you will, I did it from tomatoes. But sometimes I like to do it a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, and it's going to be the same, pretty much the same process, except this time we're going to use crushed Italian tomatoes instead of the fresh ones. This just makes it a little bit quicker. Sometimes you can do this, save you about an hour. So we're going to start off. We've got some hot oil, olive oil in here, and we got a 1/4 pound of prosciutto. So we're just going to get this nice and crispy. Get us a little base. Just get a little flavor in there. All right, we're going to stir this for about 5 minutes until it gets really nice and dark and all the fat gets rendered down. Alright, so we've cooked this down for about 5 to 6 minutes. As you can see, it's getting nice and crispy. The fat's rendered down. And if you remember from my other show about making chicken parmesan where I made a fresh marinara sauce, I always use prosciutto that's Italian. Prosciutto di Parma is the best. So now we've got 1 onion, a couple carrots, a couple sticks of celery, and 1 bell pepper. Now put this down. I'll tell you what, these kids get to the party and they taste all that prosciutto. Happy times. Making homemade sauce really isn't difficult at all. It's just, making it with a lot of love and time and care. I mean, the prep time is real simple. You just cut up the onion, the celery, the bell pepper, the carrots. Cook the prosciutto down. We got 1 head of garlic here. Gonna let this cook down a little bit, throw the garlic in later. Garlic's kind of snobby. It doesn't like to go to the party early. You know the people that like to make an entrance at the end? That's garlic. So we just cook that down a little bit. Now I think it's time for garlic to come to the party. Now what we have is 28 ounce crushed tomatoes. So for 1 batch of sauce, for a family 4, 5, 6 people, 2 cans is enough. So all the ingredients that I told you so far, this will make 1 good batch of spaghetti sauce. Whether you want to use it for lasagna, you want to use it for chicken parmesan, you want to use it for spaghetti meatballs, whatever you want. So we're going to add ourselves some salt and pepper. Fresh ground pepper always. been introduced. They know each other's names. Everybody's happy. I see a couple people hugging. So now it's time for the punch. I'm going to get this party started. So we're going to add 2 cans here. Alright, so all I want to do is I'm going to simmer this with the top off. And remember, we take the top off because we want to cook it down some. We want to get some of the moisture off and we want to get it thicker. If I wanted to keep this consistency, I would keep the top on and let it simmer. So what I want to do is I want to thicken it up a little bit, make it to a nice thicker sauce. And that's the trick to do it. Just keep the top off. So if you're wondering where the basil is and such, that's going to come later. Right now we're just going to let all this cook down for probably about 2 hours. And what we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to start making the homemade meatballs. And we're going to start with a boneless pork butt, and we're going to use a sirloin tip meat. We're going to grind it just like we do the hamburgers, and I'll show you how to make those. So while we get the hamburger ready, the meatballs ready, we'll just let this simmer. Clean this up. We're going to start on the meatballs. Alright, so we got the sauce going. We're going to do this, like I said, for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We're just going to let it simmer for right now. So to get the meatballs going, we use equal parts of pork and beef. So if you've watched my hamburger show, I like to grind my own meat because it's fresher and there's not all the other just bits of meat. So if you don't have a grinder, I strongly suggest you get one. But if you don't have one, then you can have your butcher do this for you. But I strongly recommend you do it at home because you'll see why in just a second. So what I've done is I've got sirloin tip this time and pork butt. And what I did is I just cut it into strips, and then I'm going to feed it in one at a time, and I'm going to alternate 1 beef, 1 pork. And that's going to mix it up real well. One thing that you want to deal with hamburgers and any kind of things that you make like this is the less that you put your hands on it, the better. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind it up, we're going to season it, and then we're going to run it back through the grinder. It's going to make it nice and moist. So just watch. Now for spaghetti and meatballs, you probably want to do about a half a pound. Some people do a pound and a pound. I'm doing a little extra today. I got a good deal on the meat. And it's the same exact recipe for meatloaf, so I'm going to actually make double tonight. So for the show we're going to do the meatballs, but for meatloaf you would do the exact same recipe, just in one big block. So I'm going to put this in another bowl, and then I'm going to show you how to season it. Alright, so all I did was just transfer this to a larger bowl, added salt and pepper, nothing else so far. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to run this back through the machine. done is we finished grinding the meat, and what we have is a perfect balance of perfectly seasoned pork and beef all mixed together. So the trick to this is you do not want to massage the meat too much or it'll make it tough. So that's why we ran it through the grinder the second time with the salt and pepper. So now we have an onion, bell pepper, and some green onions that we're going to put in here. And we're going to be as gentle as we possibly can when we mix this up. Now remember, I'm making extra because I'm going to make a meatloaf and the meatballs at the same time. So if you wanted to do this, you could make the meatloaf and then you could freeze it. And then you could pop it out for a weeknight. I got about 3 or 4 tablespoons of flat leaf parsley I'm going to put in here. Now remember, be gentle. Gentle. That's the secret to a very tender and moist meatball. And then we're going to add 2 eggs. And the eggs are just there to get everything to kind of stick together so it holds its shape. Remember, we're being gentle. We're not going in there and we're just kind of trying to mix it all together. We've already have our seasoning in there. That's the tough part. So now we're just trying to get these big ingredients in there. And we're going to add some Italian breadcrumbs. And you're just going to add those to just get it some, to absorb some of that wetness and kind of dry it up, kind of make it stick together. And then, one of the most important things, I think we're going to add a little bit more of this breadcrumbs. Now what I've done is I've taken a cast iron skillet, putting it on some pretty high heat, put a couple tablespoons of olive oil in there, and we're going to fry them. And while that's getting hot, well, let me add the last thing, Parmesan Reggiano. So, do not put regular Parmesan in this. You need the flavor from the Reggiano. I'm going to save a little bit for the sauce later. You want to use a cheese that has a nice strong flavor, and you want to use a hard cheese. You wouldn't put something like a cheddar or something like that, because when you cooked it, it would all ooze out. You could use a Romano if you wanted, but instead of a regular Romano, you would use the Pecorino Romano. They're aged for quite a while. I don't remember how long. Alright, so now it's getting a good consistency. So, just wash my hand. While the skillet's getting hot, it's almost there. We have our sauce, and what I have is an immersion blender. What we're going to do, I've already done a little bit of this to save some time, but we're just going to kind of grind it up. It's going to make a smooth sauce. This can be your preference. You can keep going and make it smooth, 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 or you can leave it a little bit chunky. It's all up to you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our meatballs, and you want a nice big meatball, about like this. Okay? Take a little bit of flour. You're going to roll in the flour. Now stick it on a skillet. Alright, so I'm going to do about 12 of these. The rest of the ingredients I'm going to leave aside for the meatloaf. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to brown these on all sides, and then we're going to stick it into the spaghetti. Alright, so we're just about finished. We now have 12 meatballs that we just seared the edges. Rolled in their flour, got them seared, and throw them right into the sauce. And just because I'm extra sneaky, I put some Italian sausage in here, and you can see I'm browning that too. So we're going to have a little extra flavor. So after I get these meatballs in here, we're just going to let this cook with the top off, let it get thick. And then at the end, I'm going to add some very finely chopped fresh basil. And we're going to put it in there just to give it a little brightness. Let's get our sausage in there. So much meat in here, it's hard to get to the sauce. Alright, so we'll put all these guys to bed. We're going to start to be quiet because everybody's got to take a nap. We've got to be quiet, let them sleep, let them sleep. And we're going to let them sleep until the meatballs are done on the inside. That's when we know it's ready. Remember to keep the lid off so we get the sauce nice and thick. So everybody's going to be quiet. Go to sleep. And we'll see you in an hour. Alright, so we have been cooking this down for a couple of hours now, and it is smelling most delicious. And what we also did, we made some garlic bread for another show, and some pasta, some homemade pasta, for another show as well. But we have a neighbor over, got more neighbors coming, so I'm going to plate one of these. Got the nice fresh pasta. Got the spaghetti, those homemade meatballs. Don't forget the Italian sausage I snuck in there. Parmesan Reggiano. And some fresh garlic bread. Look at that. Alright, dinner is served.
Good.